Welcome to the deep dive. You hand us the material, we extract the core insight and surprise. Today, we are immersing ourselves in Henry James, specifically his later work.
That's right. We're looking at what's often called his major period, focusing on a real masterpiece of morality and, well, money. The Wings of the Dove.
Published in 1902. And it's part of this incredible burst of creativity James had between 1901 and 1904.
Along with The Ambassadors and The Golden Bowl. A trilogy of sorts, known for being brilliant, but also, let's be honest, pretty challenging reads.
Definitely. And the whole plot of The Wings of the Dove, it really boils down to this concept James noted down years earlier, back in 1894.
Oh yeah, that notebook entry.
L'Amarante, the girl who is dying, the young man and the girl he is engaged to. Just stark, isn't it?
It really is. That's the core conflict right there. A dying heiress, a couple who need money, and a truly desperate plan.
So our mission today, as we see it, is to unpack why this novel, even with its complex style, is so critically important.
We want to dig into that clash between American innocence and, let's call it, European calculation, and the immense moral cost of this scheme.
Okay, so context is key here, right? James himself kind of lived between these two worlds.
Absolutely. His education was split between the U.S. and Europe. He ended up preferring Europe, lived there much of his life.
But he carried those American influences, didn't he? People like Hawthorne, Emerson. That sort of deep moral questioning.
Exactly. And you feel that in the book. His critique of European pragmatism, or maybe cynicism, feels so sharp because he understands both sides. He wasn't just an outsider looking in.
So these late novels, Wings of the Dove especially, written as he's nearing 60, they cemented his reputation.
Critically, yes, huge successes among critics. But, their popular appeal never quite matched that. They aren't as immediately accessible as some earlier work.
Right. When people talk about the late style, what does that actually mean? Is it just complex sentences or something deeper, different from, say, The Portrait of a Lady?
It's a fundamental change, really. It's less about outward action, more about inner consciousness.
Okay.
He moves away from straight realism. The prose becomes very elusive, almost poetic sometimes. It's all filtered through the characters' minds, their perceptions, which are often, flawed or incomplete.
So you, the reader, have to do more work, piecing things together.
Precisely. You're not just told what happens, you experience the characters thinking about what's happening, interpreting it. It's very psychological.
It was demanding.
Yeah.
I heard even his own brother, William James, the famous philosopher, found this style a bit much sometimes.
He did. Complained about the density, apparently. But even William called Henry's later travel book, The American Scene, supremely great in its own way.
So there's a payoff to wrestling with the style.
Absolutely. You get immersed in these ambiguities and complexities. Things aren't black and white. And that feels very modern, very true to how we experience life, doesn't it? It's about grappling with the moral messiness.
Before we get to the main characters, there's this interesting structural thing James does. Milly Theale, the dying heiress. She's kind of the moral center, but we don't even meet her for the first two books.
It's a brilliant move, isn't it? Her absence actually makes her presence stronger.
How so?
Well, everyone else is talking about her, planning around her, wanting her money. So you feel her importance. This image of innocence builds up before she even appears. It makes the scheming of Kate and Densher feel even darker by contrast.
Genius.
Yeah.
Okay, let's meet the players in this intense drama, starting with the Dove herself, Milly Theale.
Milly, right. She's the young American heiress, 24, from New York, enormously wealthy, the last survivor of a big upper-class family.
And James makes a point that they died of different things, right? To quash any idea of some hereditary disease, even though Milly herself is ill.
Exactly. Though her illness is deliberately kept vague, we just know it's serious and not lungs. She's sort of this embodiment of American potential, freshness, innocence, a real thirst for life.
And crucially, she's completely oblivious about her wealth, isn't she? It's just part of her reality.
Yes. He writes, she thinks of money no more than of the air she breathes. That's key to her character. She's based partly on James's cousin, Minnie Temple, who died young. He saw Milly as this almost idealized figure, an heir of all the ages.
And then the complete opposite, Kate Croy.
Kate. Milly actually calls her a panther early on, which is quite something.
Wow. So she's the European pragmatist.
Very much so. A survivor, shrewd, knowing, she has to be, Her family status is declining in this changing English society. It's still got privilege, but money talks louder now.
So she's under pressure. Survival by necessity, you said.
Exactly. She doesn't have the luxury of Milly's idealism. She sees the world for what it is, or at least what she needs it to be.
And she's honest about it, at least with herself and the man she loves, Merton Densher. There's that key quote.
Oh, yes, to Densher. I shall sacrifice nobody and nothing, and that's just my situation that I want and that I shall try for everything.
Chillingly pragmatic. No room for sentiment there.
None. It's a zero-sum game for her, as you said earlier.
Okay, so Merton Densher, the young man caught between them. What's his deal?
Densher's different again. He's a journalist, but he's passive, described as pure thought. He likes analyzing things, pondering motives.
Not exactly a go-getter then.
No, not at all. He lacks that drive Kate has. He's attracted to her energy, her boldness, precisely because he doesn't have it. And we're told pretty clearly that their relationship probably wouldn't last long on his salary alone.
So the setup is complete. The innocent heiress, the pragmatic survivor, the passive thinker, and Kate and Densher are secretly engaged.
Correct. But they need money to marry comfortably, to maintain the kind of life Kate feels entitled to, or at least needs.
Which leads to the plan.
The plan. It's Kate's brainchild, really. Breathtakingly simple and just utterly cruel.
Lay it out for us.
Encourage Densher to be kind to Milly, play up the friendship. Milly's already a bit drawn to him.
Okay.
Convince Milly there's nothing serious between Kate and Densher. Let Milly fall in love with him, maybe even marry him. And then, when Milly inevitably dies from her illness, Densher inherits the fortune. And then he and Kate can finally marry, wealthy and secure.
Wow. Just wow. The cold calculation is staggering. It really does cast a dark shadow over everything, knowing this is underlying all the interactions.
It makes reading it quite intense. You're watching this vulnerable person being targeted purely for financial gain.
And the society around them doesn't exactly discourage this kind of thinking, does it? Let's bring in the supporting cast. They seem crucial to this atmosphere.
Very much so. First, you have Aunt Maud Lauder, Kate's aunt.
Rich.
Powerful.
Real. Yes. Iron-willed. She got her money through marriage, but lacks the aristocratic background, so she's fiercely ambitious socially.
And she sees Kate as a way to climb higher.
Exactly. She wants Kate to marry a title, someone like Lord Mark, regardless of Kate's feelings. It's all about advancing the family, which mostly means advancing Aunt Maud.
And Lord Mark, he's the broke aristocrat you mentioned. That's him, looking to trade his title for cash. The source material actually calls him the closest thing to a purely evil force in the book.
Really? Why him specifically? More than Kate?
Primarily because of one key action later on. He's the one who, out of spite or malevolence and vengeance, as the notes say, tells Milly the truth about Kate and Densher's scheme when he visits her in Venice.
So he's the one who blows it all up.
He's the catalyst for the final crisis, yes. But James is careful, I think. It's not about external villains entirely. The focus stays on the moral choices the main characters make.
Right. You said earlier this isn't like Zola or Dreiser, where fate is sealed by circumstance. Here, choices matter.
Immensely. Every decision has consequences, a string of consequences. James really emphasizes individual moral responsibility.
So let's look at Densher's choices. He goes along with Kate's plan. He initially frames being kind to Milly as just being a decent guy.
Yes, that's the pious rationalization. He tells himself it's the gentlemanly thing to do.
But it's self-deception, really.
Absolutely. He's lying to himself about his motives, which are tied up with Kate and the potential inheritance. And that first seemingly small step puts him on that slippery moral slope. He becomes complicit.
Even if Kate is the driving force.
Even then, his passivity becomes a form of action or inaction that enables the whole thing.
And what about Milly? Is she just a passive victim?
Not entirely. She makes choices, too. There's that incredibly symbolic scene in Venice. She's with Lord Mark looking at a Bronzino portrait that everyone says looks like her.
Yeah.
And it's right then she has her first serious turn, the first major physical symptom of her illness hitting her hard. It's almost like she sees her fate mirrored in the portrait and maybe, in some way, accepts or surrenders to it.
But she doesn't give up her agency entirely.
No. Crucially, she decides to see the great doctor, Sir Luke Strett. She seeks help. But then she makes another key decision. She chooses not to tell Kate what the doctor said. She keeps that knowledge to herself.
Why is that so important?
Because it marks a separation. She ensures she will face her fate essentially alone. She distances herself emotionally and informationally from Kate, from the schemers. She retains control over her own narrative in a way.
That leads us towards the ending and the title itself. The wings of the dove. Let's unpack that symbolism.
Sure. Kate calls Milly a dove early on, maybe a bit dismissively. Densher initially pushes back, thinks Milly's too alive, too vibrant for that image.
But he comes around to it.
He realizes the deeper meaning later. He sees how they are all, in a sense, sheltering under Milly's wings.
Thinking her wealth, her generosity.
Wealth, her patronage, her protection, her money makes their lives possible, even as they plot against her. The dove symbolizes that purity, that shelter, but also, ultimately, sacrifice.
There's a religious undertone, too, isn't there? Psalm 55.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest. It connects Milly's illness and her situation to this deep desire for release from suffering, for escape.
An escape she ultimately achieves, but in a very unexpected way. Let's talk about the ending, the ambiguous triumph.
It's astonishing. Milly finds out about the deception, about the whole scheme, Lord Mark tells her.
And her reaction.
Her final act is to leave her entire fortune to Densher anyway.
Wait, even knowing he deceived her?
Yes. It's presented as this incredible act of generosity and forgiving spirit.
But the source material also calls it a certain vengeance. How can it be both forgiveness and vengeance? That seems contradictory.
It's the genius of it. By forgiving him, by giving him the money she knows he and Kate desperately wanted, she makes it impossible for them to actually use it together.
How so?
She attaches her moral weight to it. The money becomes a symbol of her goodness, her sacrifice. For Densher to take it and marry Kate, the woman who orchestrated the deception, would be the ultimate betrayal of Milly's final act of trust. He can't do it.
So her forgiveness traps him morally.
Exactly. It's like an ethical checkmate. She weaponizes her own virtue. The result is that Kate and Densher are broken apart, permanently estranged, as the notes say.
They can't marry using her money.
Densher feels he can't touch it, not for that purpose, so he makes this grand gesture of renunciation, refusing the money, effectively, which leaves him with nothing.
So Milly triumphs, in a way.
In a profound way. The conclusion is more of a beginning than a resolution, for Densher perhaps. Milly escapes from, not to say, triumphs over her tormentors, using her moral force to shatter their plans and their relationship. The very thing they schemed for the money becomes the thing that divides them forever.
So summing up, we've really dug into that clash. Milly's American idealism against Kate's European pragmatism, and we've experienced the sheer psychological depth of James's late style. It pulls you right into the characters' heads.
It really does. It's an immersion, not just observation, which leads us to that final provocative thought to leave you with. James wrote that Milly's passionate desire was to live fully, to put in before extinction as many of the finer vibrations as possible. Now, Densher ends up renouncing the money. He refuses to marry Kate with it, leaving him essentially destitute.
Right. He's left with nothing he schemed for.
So what's the greater tragedy for Densher in that moment? Is it just losing the fortune?
Oh.
Or is it the sudden, crushing realization that his own will, his passive complicity, was completely overridden and judged by the superior moral will of Milly, the woman he deceived? He's forced into a moral stance by her final act.
So Milly, even in death, forces him to be moral, denying him the spoils of his immorality. She makes him choose ethics over desire.
Precisely. It transforms him at the very moment it costs him everything he thought he wanted. A tragic, powerful victory for the dove.
A lot to think about there. That's it for this deep dive into the wings of the dove. We hope you gained some finer vibrations today.
See you next time.